Great day, great day. Did you miss us? We certainly miss you, and we welcome you to the Black Comic Lords Ladies Live.
What's up, y'all?
What's up?
All right, I am your friendly neighborhood moderator, Tamiko, and I have my girls with me, Angel and Bree. How are y'all doing this evening, ladies?
So good, so good. All of the weekend vibes. Just got my nails done. Just picked up new comics. It's all vibes.
All vibes. And that's basically what we're going to do tonight. We're just going to sit here, talk to you a little bit. I got my bougie water. I'm ready.
Yes.
And we're just going to sit here and talk comics with you for a little while. Because we missed y'all. And there's so much stuff that went on. And, you know, we just got to let our people know how we feel about them things, you know, in our ladies live fashion. So we're going to open up with a little thing here we call What You're Reading. So, Bree, we'll start with you.
Hey, okay. So first of all, I have to really just get into it. I'm trying to see if it closed off or not, but I'm rocking my Joystick Angels t-shirt because we got to support Black comic creators all the way around. And they were recently doing a Kickstarter so you could pick up the other books in the series. This is from the first Kickstarter. If the Kickstarter is still popping off, I'll drop the deets in the description so that way you guys can come through. But yeah, TJ Sterling, epic Black comic creator. I love like Black adventures in space type of vibes and different types of alien vibes. So it's a good time. Definitely support them if you can. But what have I been reading lately? Obviously reading a lot because I'm an avid reader, as you can see. But I would say my favorite thing that I've been reading lately is X-Men Red. And that's just been because I feel like it's the dopest depiction we've seen of Storm in a hot minute. And it's wild to me that like that's the true statement, even though there's like an actual like past state Storm run happening right now. I don't like to throw shade on creators, especially like women of color creators, but I just really, really want a Black woman to write a Storm story, like give it to us. But I would say that X-Men Red has been doing it for me. We're getting to see her. Exactly. Exactly. I have been that girl collecting all of the X-Men Red covers because I'm like, this is the story, this is the depiction that our girl deserves. Like, give her full status, let her pop her goddess Omega status. Okay, like don't make her smaller, don't make her powers less, don't make her just some member of the X-Men. She's really that girl. So I really have been enjoying X-Men Red and the way that she's been depicted in that. What else have I been enjoying? Bloodline, Daughter of Blade has been like a hand wavy, but I want it to like move forward for me. So I'm like, that's another one I've been collecting all the covers for. What else? Sana Staros. Y'all, anybody who knows me knows that I'm like a huge Dr. Opera fan. Like that's one of my favorite Star Wars characters. And Sana was her girl and yes, in all of those amidst those stories, so that the fact that she got her own version and you see the family and all of the vibes, I've been really enjoying that. And I just picked up this too because I'm a hardcover whore, so I had to get while I picked up the volumes, I was like, I have to pick up the hardcover omnibus. And then I absolutely have been loving Prism Stalker, but it had been a minute since we got an update. And this is by a Black Indigenous author. And I don't know if you're familiar with the story, but it's like very much tripping balls type of art, but it's a good time. And y'all know you're catching a theme here. I love Black women in space type of vibe, so it's a good time. I literally just picked this up today because I don't know if it just didn't get single issues or if LCS just didn't carry it or what, but I was super excited to see this trade paperback pop up because I had the first 2 volumes from like forever ago, and so I'm glad that they're like continuing that story. And then I also picked this up today, Kariba. It's like an African fantasy adventure type of graphic novel, and the artwork is very much giving like Studio Ghibli type of vibes as far as like whimsy and like youthful energy. So I'm excited to get into this one. But yeah, I just, it's been the usual suspects and just trying to keep my collection growing and making it make sense. Fun fact, I typically hear Tamiko's voice in the back of my mind when I'm like selecting my stuff for pre-orders, like buy the comics, read the comics, where I was like collecting a lot of stuff for like cover sake or for like vibe sake or for the sake of my collection. Is now I'm like more zeroed in, like, am I gonna actually read this? Is this something that I would actually enjoy, or am I collecting it for the sake of my women of color and comics collection? Because that's mainly what I collect. So I was like, been kind of zeroing it in because my habit had gotten a little out of control with my those pre-orders will sneak up on you. Like it's like the month ahead, you get that final order cutoff email, and I'm like, and then when you get that friendly email like, hey, you have new pulls in for this week, and I'm just like, dang, did I order all of that? I must have, but it's a lot. So yeah, it's been a good time for women of color in comics here lately. So just been keeping the pre-orders pulling, but those have been my favorite things, and those are the things I'm most excited to get into here coming up.
All right, Angel, what you been reading?
All right, so Exiled has been on my list since it was a Kickstarter, and that's by Wesley Snipes. The publisher is Whatnot Publishing. What I like not only is the story really adventurous, the character is very similar to many. It's like a combination of many of Wesley's actual acting characters. Um, the graphics are very artistic. It'll go from black and whites to full colors to abstract. It's very visual. It's on issue 6 right now. And also what I love, because I love comic books for their covers as well. It's reminiscent of a lot of the movies he would have been in or could have been in or have already been in. And so the homages are sick. Like, who did this? Like, this is great. So there's a lot of nostalgia with every one of the floppies. So I am like living on this. I just moved, so some of the comic books I wanted to showcase today, I don't know where they are. Blade has returned to the scene after many, many years in hiatus. Now, although if you are a big Blade fan in the comic books, I want to say the current series, issue 12 of Avengers, the Avengers actually rescue Blade, and he's been in the storyline 2019. And yes, his daughter has bloodline, but his comic, Blade's independent comic, it just launched like 2 weeks ago. So for those of the avid collectors from a long time ago, waiting for him to come back, he is back. I have that comic somewhere. I just don't know where. So that's big for me. And also too, I was just able to pick up, if you don't know, Harriet Tubman, Demon Slayer. I've got several of the covers, but this one, I am a granddaughter of a World War II veteran, and just to see her punch the crap out of Hitler, this is like love right now. I have not read it yet. It is by my bed, or was by my bed to read, but I have subbed to this. I am stoked about it. Cover art is by John Bragalia and Winston Chan on this one, but there are a number of different comic covers for this one. It is rated mature for those that follow me that are learning to collect comics. This is at a mature, so this is not for little kids. So yeah, I got that red cover with her on the cover too, and that other one's pretty sick. Like Demon Slayer, I'm loving this. And I have some old ones that I picked up. Meteor Man anniversary was recent, and I was able to acquire, for those of us from back in the day that needed to see on TV one of us be a superhero. Meteor Man is big for a lot of us growing up, and I was able to acquire a mint condition Meteor Man comic. So that's what I got right now that I can think of. I have lots of them, but that's what I got right now.
Awesome. And of course, if anybody knows, if anybody's in the Facebook groups, y'all know what I've been doing all summer, while simultaneously doing church stuff with my church people, my denomination. Right now, I am deeply into the Fall of X because, of course, I'm an X-Men girl.
Yeah.
Reading all of them, reading everything. And then, of course, from the Midtown sale that I told y'all about.
Yes. Wow.
Sinister, Storm in the Brotherhood.
Nice.
You know, all the stuff before the fall. Immoral X-Men. Trying to get that word up there. Okay, and before the fall, Sinister 4. If you don't know,
now we know.
Now you know who was in charge of messing up the timeline. So yes, so I'm deeply into that, covering all the holes, and those were $1.
Best deal ever.
So I was dollar bin bullying all summer. Believe that. And of course, X-Men Red. This is number 11. I know I'm a bit behind because I've been trying to catch up. And of course, X-Men, of course, the Hellfire Gala. I'm sorry, I'm still in shock. I'm still in pain. I'm still mourning at what happened at the Hellfire Gala this year. So you're just going to have to forgive me if I don't talk much about it.
I went
And
to
then,
the actual Hellfire Gala at San Diego Comic-Con this year, and it was brazy. It was brazy.
okay, we're going
And
to
it
have to
was
talk
like
about that.
right before I even got to like read all of the calamity that ensued. So all of the memes that were like moments before disaster, I was like, yo, it feels like you dodged a bullet because the event was epic. Everybody was like, "Oh, who you're going as? Who you're going?" I was like, "I'm going as Bree if she discovered she had powers." Period. Because I was like, I know that people are about to pull out all of the stops. This was like my first major cosplay event, so I just came through with like the all pink drip. We went full on pink wig and all of the drama, and it was very cool because seeing like the Black creators come out and really just pop their stuff at this event, like they ate and left no crumbs. The DJs that were in the main floor were Coco and Breezy, their Black twin creator DJs. So the representation was just really epic in the space, and it was cool to get like the inaugural in-person Hellfire Gala like pin, and they had like all kinds of really cool stuff that we got as swag. So it was a good time, and like I feel like they may have learned a lot. The space was like 3 floors, so it was pretty big, and they had everything like they had a green carpet, they had everything set up with like the Krakoan like plant life. Everything was like glowing and looking cool and stuff like that. But I think they will think twice about the venue next year because the turnout was crazy. Like it sold out before the day. And I think there was like a trickle down effect because I remember being like, oh, there's still tickets. And then there was no tickets. Yeah. So like one of my friends who wanted to go wasn't able to go because she didn't realize the tickets had sold out. But I went with another friend. So it was a good time. And you had to be like a D23 member. So like, I don't know how many of you guys subscribe, but another thing that Tamiko influenced me to do without really telling me what was to sign up for Marvel Unlimited. So that way it's like, all right, I want to know what's happening in these runs, but I don't care to collect those individual issues.
Yeah.
But so like if you pay the at the time there was like a deal going on for like $65.99 for the year. So I did that. And because I paid for the year, it put me in like premium D23 status. So we got the first wave of like invitations to purchase tickets for Hellfire Gala. So if you're interested in going next year, hopefully they do it next year. If you're interested in going next year, that's one way to get it where you can get your tickets early and at a discounted rate is to sign up for Marvel Unlimited. I will say that it's worth the money to me because on top of being able to like peruse other things that you maybe didn't want to buy physical copies of, you're also looking at like all of the back history. They're still compiling quite a bit of the catalog, but it's a good time and it allows you to search by artists, authors, creators, and characters. So like my first thing that I searched was obviously Storm. And I was like, whoa, like this is dope. Like letting me know things that I should be trying to pull for my collection since I'm a newer collector and like see what gaps I want to fill or what keys I want to pick up or try to acquire. So yeah, that was a long way of saying Hellfire Gala was epic and definitely sign up for Marvel Unlimited if you're interested in that. Because yeah, you like maybe like me, like I've decided like I'm only going to collect physical copies of certain things, but I still want to know
what's going on.
Yeah. Right.
Still read everything. Yes. and because of the Hellfire Gala, I also started reading the Iron Man series because Tony Stark is plop smack in the middle of everything. And spoiler, he hooks up with Emma Frost.
That's not. I mean, we kind of seen that coming, type of vibes. I thought you were gonna give some other type of spoiler because I picked up the Iron Man, this new event where it's like Avengers versus X-Men type of vibes. I picked up the. Yeah, I picked up. Yeah, exactly. The Contest of Champions. I picked up the him versus Storm because of Storm, but I haven't read it yet. So I thought you were about to drop those spoilers. I was like,
no, because see, I haven't even read this yet. This is
okay.
My to be read and put away pile is ridiculous.
Yes.
So it was right on top too. I said, "Oh, okay."
Exactly. Yeah, I copped all of those covers, and I was like, I don't even know what's happening, but the artwork, those were dope, and I was like, I'm never gonna be mad at a Storm cover, so I'll pick it up. But yeah, I feel like that wasn't much of a spoiler because people were expecting that.
Right. For that, you need to be reading Scarlet Witch, and I've been doing that too. So that's the only beat I'm gonna give you. You need to look at Scarlet Witch for that.
Okay, that's good context because that was one where I was like, I'm not buying Scarlet Witch. We'll check that out on the app.
So, of course, welcome to all of our folks. And no, frustrated fans, I did not spend any of my rent money. I paid my rent first and spent what was left.
There you go. That's how you got to do it. Wait, frustrated fan also said the Storm solo series has been making her come off as a lovesick simp, and I agree. I don't know why this woman was chosen to write this Storm story. I don't know why we even really needed this particular Storm story. Like,
considering that X-Men Red is firing on all cylinders,
giving her the props that she's due, is letting her actually be black and letting her have a black squad. Like, there was no need for this solo Storm story to be what it is. If they were going to put it in the future or in between some of this chaos, because like Storm from Storm and the Brotherhood amidst that Sins of Sinister chaos, I mean, they let her pop her stuff in that series too. So I'm like, you have two like other Storm storylines happening alongside yours, and yours is just looking like bottom tier a la Pooh in comparison. Like, we could have done without a series. Like, and very rarely will you hear me say like, oh, I don't want a Storm book, but that Storm book has been a disappointment. I'm not even gonna lie.
We don't need any more prequels. We already been there. So we can go back to those stories.
Right.
So we need to go forward. All righty.
I agree.
So other than that, I've been deeply entrenched in the Fall of X, catching all of the other series on the side, and even the stuff that I don't collect. But I said, well, it's part of the story, so I'll just grab it just for that.
See, you better than me. You got money, Tamiko, because I was like, with the Sins of Sinister event, I was like, I'm collecting all the covers for Storm and the Brotherhood of Mutants, and I'll wait for the hardcover compendium when that drops. And it just came out this week, so I'll be picking that up to get the context of everything else. But I was like, nah, I'm just going to collect these Storm books.
That's what Midtown is for.
Okay.
$1, I'm on it.
Yeah.
But full price? No. My budget, while stretched very thin, I'm still in it.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm real good with it. So.
Oh, I forgot to mention Hot Girls, another one that I've been enjoying, and I've been picking up all the covers for that one. And I'm not even gonna hold y'all. I really thought, y'all fanboys don't come for me, because like I said, I'm a newer collector, but I really thought that Hot Girl was black based off of what I seen of her in the Nubia runs. So when I seen like the previews of like the covers coming out for her solo book, I was like, oh, she looking real light skinned, but I'm still gonna get it. And then reading it, it's like, oh, she's Latina, which I still support because obviously brown girls get it, but I really thought she was black based off of her role in like the previous other stories. So I was like a little confused by that. And then getting into I can't wait to hear y'all's opinions about this. Have y'all seen who they cast for her, for a potential casting for her upcoming? She's very much she's very much like could borderline be passing as white. So I'm like, why are we doing that?
No.
Yeah, because
That's
just like
fair.
my frustrated friend says, yeah, her race changes based on who's writing her. And you know, that the Hawkman thing, the story legacy is lots of time shenaniganery.
Okay.
Shenaniganery. This person was born way back when, then he dies and he reincarnates and the people, and you know. But no.
Okay, that's good context to have, because I want to say, like, didn't we see her a little bit with Ironheart? It was either Ironheart or Moon Girl, because I remember being like, "Oh, I just seen her in this other book."
No,
but she was very much coded black in that as well too.
Not no. She's a DC character, so no. You don't mean Moon Girl. You mean I'm terrible.
I'm terrible too.
And she's right there on the corner of our screen. And why can't I pull her name out of my mouth?
Oh, Green Lantern. Farsight. Wait.
No.
You're not talking about Joe? No. Oh, the little one.
The other one.
Yeah. Okay, I know who you're talking about. Oh, this is gonna bug me. But either way, I know that's y'all don't come for me in the comments. But
Naomi.
There. Oh, Naomi. That's what it was. Okay, that's exactly right. Okay, because in season, I can't remember. It must have been season 1. She had her little encounter with her. Okay, I knew. I was like, she was very much playing like big sis vibes. That's why I was immediately thinking, but you're right, that is like not even the same publisher. Stop the shenanigans. But yeah, that's why I immediately went to like, who's Black Girl Young that I've been reading. But yeah, Naomi, she was very much giving big sister vibes, and she was very much coded as black. So I was confused. But either way, we're supporting brown girls. Either way, we're supporting women of color in comics. But I just was like a little taken aback. So I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, we're gonna see. But I still have like a little twinge of annoyance when people bring up Naomi, because they really just was like, no more. We're just gonna go ahead and cancel it.
We're like, what happened? Because it should be in the Dawn of DC somewhere,
right?
And haven't seen her at all, and it's just
it was like a perfect opportunity too, because I feel like the casting was done really well for that show. But then it's also kind of like, would it have even mattered, because the way that they're like scrapping things and whatever is happening right now with DC is just like the DCU rather is like, oh, okay, I guess that's what we're doing. Like I'm not even gonna hold y'all. I don't want to say anything bad about it, but the DC movies that are being allowed to stay, it's like, okay, I mean,
popped up.
I guess. But I will say Blue Beetle was cute. It was cute.
Yeah.
I like Blue Beetle. It was family oriented. It had a lot of old school vibes. I absolutely loved. I enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed Blue Beetle.
Yeah, it was more of a family story than like a hero-centric story. Right. And what's his name? The uncle really like stole the show. That was his movie. 100%. The uncle stole the show. He was hilarious. But the movie overall was cute, and I was like, okay, if this is the vibes that they're gonna give us moving forward, I'm here for it. I will say I didn't watch
George
Flash.
Was the uncle. George Lopez.
Yes, exactly. George Lopez. Yeah, he crushed it. But yeah, I didn't watch the Flash movie because I just can't support old dude. They really just were like, oh yeah, we're gonna just let you run all willy-nilly, even though you have been clearly proven guilty about all of these shenanigans. That's why I was like, y'all don't get me on my soapbox, because I'm butthurt about Jonathan Majors right about now.
Yes. Yes. The fact that this woman completely lied in the video, and he's the one that called authorities to get her help, she can up and leave the whole country during court proceedings, because I want this to be out there. Like, I am 100% behind Jonathan Majors and this shenanigans woman who felt like she owned him because the argument was over his phone. Let's make that clear. She thought she was entitled to his phone and who he was talking to, and everything that she said was a complete lie, and he's still having to go to court. And then the prosecution side or whatever is dragging out this court case, and the judge is allowing it. They're able to stifle evidence. Like, I've been watching this thing close because I am so sick and tired of us being accused of stuff and other folk get to leave the whole country and nothing happens to them. Nothing happens.
So why like, okay? I love all of this energy, Angel, but let's do the politically correct thing since we're speaking on behalf of Black comic lords. Black comic lords, and especially the Black comic lords ladies, 100% support giving women or victims, period, regardless of gender, their space to be seen and heard and have every opportunity for a community of safety. However, on the flip side of that, you have a Black man in his prime, like kicking it up with several major films like out in the world with other projects in production, contracts with the Army or Navy or whoever, all of these things, and everything, he has contracts cut off, everything is halted, all of this based off of hearsay when there's clear evidence supporting the opposite side of that. So I just feel like give everyone the space for facts to arise before anybody makes a decision or decides to like promote this cancel culture. And I feel like it's our space in this space as Black women, we would be remiss not to be like, yes, give victims their space, but also support Black men in the sense that give them their due process before you penalize them. Does that make sense?
Well, that's the whole thing. He's not getting due process. The prosecution has dragged out this case. In the meantime, he's lost several contracts. For what? For what? It already came out that everything that the statements were made on the behalf of supposed victim was a complete farce. Complete farce.
And that whole thing about her using his credit card and all that type of stuff. It's like, sis, you weren't even trying to fully play the victim. You just, but without going down that rabbit hole.
Okay.
Let's keep
it comic. Keep it comic.
Let me throw a little something here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, this was my opinion. My opinion. Not BCL. My opinion.
All right. Now back to our regular scheduled program. We ain't doing nothing but talking about comics and stuff here. So, if you lovely people who are watching us right now, if you lovely people watching us right now have a question that you want to throw at us, go on ahead. Put it in the chat. We'll look at it, and if you get out of pocket, we will boop. Boop. So be respectful.
Be respectful. But to like bring it back to the reason why I went on that tangent, I had someone run me down about Kang's role in the comics, because again, he's not Black coded in the comics, so I don't know what his history is because I've had zero desire to pick those up.
He has a zero code. He's purple.
Right. So what I'm saying, I had like I had nothing about Kang.
I didn't.
Siri, I'm not talking to you. I know nothing about Kang, but my friend was telling me about how in the comics he's like jumping through time and doing all of these things that are like politically leaning more towards like, oh, he could have been Black if he was any color at all, whatever. And so I won't give movie spoilers, but the cutscene at the end of the Ant-Man movie, I stood up and was fired up. And very rarely do you get those vibes from me in the movies. So all I will say is I hope that due process gets its day and that it works out so that we can somehow get the story that we deserve.
Yes, ma'am.
With this man playing King the Conqueror, because he like gathered
He
that,
was perfect.
he carried that whole movie.
He did.
Carried that whole
It was
movie.
perfect.
And not only that, they might have some stuff in the can with the Loki series on Disney Plus. Now,
oh
I
no,
know
it's not a might. It's not a might. It's not a might. So I'm ready for that. Doesn't that come out on the 29th?
I believe so.
It's at the, I want to say it's at the either at the end of this month or early October, but either way, I'm ready for it.
Yep. So we're going to see what happens when Loki transverses with the TVA to try to make things right.
Yeah, that's one series that they did right.
October 5th is when season 2 of Loki premieres.
Perfection. I knew it was just a couple weeks away. Yeah.
Disney Plus. For those of us who still have it.
I still have it.
How many of us are, if you didn't have it, we're going to get it just so you could watch that?
Yeah. And then drop it as soon as we're done. Yes.
Yeah.
Facts. I really want to see if Ravonna Renslayer gets like a more substantial role, if anything, in season 2, because loved her character, cosplayed as her for Halloween. So yeah, I want to see it. Okay, we got, I know you had some other questions from people that you got sent. What are these questions in the chat looking like?
Okay, well, we'll start with Frustrated Fans since he's here. What other series are y'all excited to see start? So series as in comic book series as in television series. Let's be a little bit more specific. Because I mean, I am deeply into the fall of the X. So then after X has fallen, everybody then got kicked off Krakoa and everything. So then we're going to see what happens when the next series, Rise of the Power of X. So yeah, I mean, it's not looking good for the folks, not looking good for the X-Men. They're running around. They got a whole bunch of people that they shuttled off to God knows where. Because poor Charlie, he thought that they were dead. He thought he sent all of these mutants to their death. But, they done did it enough times. They're not going to do it again. I was like, please don't do it again. We done been through this. Decimation, Genosha. So let them live, but just throw them over here and see how they do over here. And then, of course, Storm is on Araco dealing with Genesis and Apocalypse. And, things are pretty dicey for the X people in general. So I'm along for the ride. I'm just along for the ride to see what happens to my favorite Merry Mutants. Because, I mean, they're everywhere. Even Nightcrawler, he's now a Spider-Man. So it's so much going on. Dark X-Men, Madeline Pryor, Havoc, and the rest of her crew. And, I could go on. I mean, and I won't, because I will. So what comic series are you excited for? Bree.
Say it again. Sorry, I was like, my stack was about to fall over, and I was like, doom!
You gotta catch them.
Right, exactly.
What comic series are you excited for?
What comic series am I excited for? Really, mostly continuations, low-key. We got some tea from our girl Stephanie Williams, and I'm just waiting for next year those things to drop, so we can actually talk about them. But yeah, I'm always just like, I try not to be focused on the pre-orders until they come, because the way my FOMO is set up, I was tripping, like for real tripping. But yeah, I would say everything that I'm looking forward to is mostly just author based, but I don't have like any comic runs like that are starting off brand new. It's just continuations at this point. I'm really happy with what Eve Ewing is doing with the current Black Panther run.
Yes.
Yes.
So I'm interested to see the direction that goes in, and I'm fingers crossed for more Photon. I feel like that's going to be dependent upon like low key how well this upcoming Marvels movie does, because they're like, it seems like they're aligning a lot of those things with whether these more obscure characters are getting more shine in books and whatever, because they feel like those two things are correlated heavily. Do I agree with that? Not necessarily, but whatever. It is what it is.
Go see the Marvels movie.
Yes.
I'm gonna see it.
I
Okay.
cannot wait.
I don't want to hear nobody fussing about Brie Larson or anybody else. I said our princess is in the movie.
Go a couple times to see those movies. I will say, I'm excited about this story continuing. I'm a Niobe stan, and I feel like they're like heavily amidst the Black Comic Lords fam. So y'all, if y'all aren't already, I feel like probably
shout
are.
out to Sebastian Jones and Stranger Comics.
Facts. And then I'm also excited about getting the upcoming books of this, because they made the web series into an actual book. So I'm excited to get into that. It's very much giving like more so fun manga vibes than like your typical comic book. So I've been really liking it a lot. But there's a couple more volumes of that dropping too. So that's mostly what I'm looking forward to.
Okay, Angel.
So I have Silver Surfer Rebirth Legacy that's just started. It should be waiting for me because I haven't picked it up yet. Marvel's bringing back Rom into the picture. If anybody hasn't noticed, if they love Rom, I have the first volume from series 1. So I'm excited to see Rom reemerge as a character. Also in Silver Surfer Rebirth, I want to say there's another legacy character. I'm trying to figure. Captain Marvel returns in Silver Surfer Rebirth Legacy. So we have 2 iconic characters from back in the day joining Silver Surfer on an adventure. So I'm excited about that, just because of all my old school, volume 1 floppies that I have. And I think there's also, I don't know if anybody knows, this is an ongoing series that started maybe a month or so ago called Void Rivals. And Void Rivals is Transformers and G.I. Joe in the same universe. I'm enjoying it so far. Very different look. And if you saw the last Transformers, I know that's a spoiler, at the end it does reference G.I. Joe. I know I'm spoiling. Okay. I haven't seen the end of it, but
it's definitely cool if you're an 80s comic person. Because me, Mask, Thundercats, G.I. Joe, Galaxy Rangers, I did all of that.
Yeah,
Voltron.
Well, as a kid, you played with the figures. You played with your Transformers and your G.I. Joes together. And for it to, one, be in the movie as a movie hint, and then to have a comic book brought to life with the exact, it's like, yes! That's where I'm at right now. And then there's supposed to be, I think towards the end of the year, Justice League is supposed to be having Godzilla back in their universe. Now, there's a historic several one-shots in the past with Justice League and Godzilla, and so we're circling back with that later on this year for those that are avid of mix and matches of things, which I am. I have a lot of the one-shot mixes and matches of characters and universes, so that's what I'm looking forward to right now and enjoying right now.
All right. So then, of course, we'll give Frustrated Fan another shout out here. What about Sirens of the City? Have you started reading it yet? I
I
have not.
picked it up. I got several variants, but I have not started reading it yet. Mostly because I was late picking up my pre-order, so I had somehow got number 2, but hadn't picked up number 1 yet. Yeah, but I seen that and I was like, okay, another situation where it's, and I love the way that Boom does representation. Like, people sleep on these smaller publishers, but Boom and Vault have really been doing it for women of color in comics since I started collecting. So anytime they have like a women of color, like main character type of vibes coming out, I'm gonna get that. Like the Many Deaths of Layla Starr. What was that other one?
Eve.
Eve. Yeah,
Abbott. Abbott.
Yeah, all of the vibes. So you already
know. I'm definitely.
Yeah. I haven't started it, but I fully intend to, and that's another one where I was like, I may not pick up every cover, but there was too many dope ones for me to not pick it up, and I really hope that I like it, because I'm not even going to hold y'all. I got some of the covers because I was like, ooh, I'm going to recreate that cover on my Bookstagram. We're definitely doing a closet cosplay because the character looks too dope, so I really hope that when I pick up number 1 that I really like the story, so that way I'm not just doing it because it looks cool.
The artist and the writer for Siren in the City. Free. The artist and the writer. The artist and the writer for Sirens in the City.
It says Starer and Randolph. I'm not even gonna lie. I don't think that this is done by Black creators. I think it's just
the artist, I believe, is
I don't want to lie, is what I'm saying. Let's see.
Harry Randolph, if I'm not mistaken, is the artist.
Yeah, it is.
He is a black artist.
So. Okay, perfect.
I know I had seen it on the Facebook group, and I didn't want to mix them up because I'm thinking it was Nicholas Draper Ivy, but he's doing the other series that I'm
and this is how you know I was just buying it off the strength of like the Black Girl Magic literally on the cover, because I didn't even know that it was like black and white with pops of color, like, and it changes.
See, I love that.
You know how they did like Wonder Woman black and gold, and how like right now they're doing the Harley Quinn black, white, and redder or whatever, and it's like all black and white with one color. This is like black and white but different colors just depending on page per panel, like that type of vibe. So it looks really cool.
Yep. So shout out to Carrie Randolph. All right. Okay. So the next question we got here. Okay. From our fellow Black comic lord, Katif Omari. Okay. Where do we start with reading modern Nubia comics? So, you may have the original Wonder Woman where she shows up in her armor to fight Diana, not knowing that was her twin sister and all. But if you want to know about the current Nubia, well, she still is Wonder Woman's sister.
Yeah.
So I suggest Future State.
Yeah, that's a good start.
Which is where she steps back into continuity. And this is Future State Immortal Wonder Woman 1 and 2. So she has the backstory. The front story, of course, is Diana all by herself, trying to fight off evil, because she was the very last superhero standing. But Nubia has a story in the back and how she's reintroduced back into DC continuity. So if you really want to start, there, good. Future State Immortal Wonder Woman 1 and 2.
And I would also say the DC Power Black History Month superhero anthology that they did here recently. It's DC Power. Dang it, I can't remember hold on, let me see. DC Power, a celebration. That's what it was, because it was for Black History Month. But that was a Black superhero anthology that they did. It was like all Black creators, all Black superheroes in it. And there's a really dope Nubia story in that was done by Stephanie Williams. And she has like all the shenanigans. It's low-key a hilarious little story. And it also features Bumblebee. So I'm like, fingers crossed that we get a Bumblebee story coming up, because that was good vibes seeing them like being able to interact. But all of the other like Black superhero stories are in there too, like Green Lantern and the Aquaman and all those types of things, and Joe Mullen from Far Sector. So that's another good book to just pick up off of GP, like since there's so many Black heroes in it.
Oh yeah, and I had forgotten. John Stewart, what is it? John Stewart War Journal is out.
Oh yeah, I did get that. Oh,
gotta have it. Gotta have it.
yes.
And then we're gonna have to talk to DC about where is Joe. What are y'all doing?
Right.
Can we get another Far Sector? What's going on?
You trying to make me cry, Tamiko? Is that what you're doing? You trying, because you know that's my hill I will die on. Like, we need more Joe. Give us some.
I'm right there with you, Joe. And they can even bring Kelly, the teen lantern. They can even bring her along. I'll take her.
Yes. Yeah.
So DC got to get on it. You got to get on it.
Yeah.
Okay. Our next question, also from Khatib. How can the comic industry reach more Black women?
Okay, I love this question. I would say, just on me recently trying to lure as many of my people into comics, I think that the comic industry can lure more Black women in. The way that I typically do it is with authors they're already familiar with, because readers gonna read.
Yeah.
You have Black women who love to read what they love to read, and if you have that crossover opportunity, that's how I got into comics. So I feel like more of those would be epic. Like, you have people like N.K. Jemisin doing Far Sector. That's how I came in. Then you have people like Nnedi Okorafor, who's like a titan in her field, and she came through with Shuri. And then you have like Nalo Hopkinson, also a queen in Black science fiction and fantasy, coming through with House of Whispers, with the Sandman, her own Sandman story. Like, anytime you have those crossover opportunities, Eve Ewing crossing over into, you know what I'm saying? Those crossover opportunities where it's like Black women whose work and art and writing style we already trust, like having their day or having their opportunity in this medium has brought a lot of people over, or you know what I'm saying? Or like just more of us in the space getting the opportunity to tell these stories. Like, I can't say that enough. Like, what I was saying about the Storm story, I had like the most heated argument with one of my close friends about how trash it is that we haven't had a Black woman writing Storm. Like, and I feel like that's why we haven't seen her at her highest level of respect and power that she absolutely deserves as a character. But even beyond that, like, just the fact that we have Eve Ewing writing Black Panther, and she's the first Black woman doing that. So it's just like, you know, the more and more we see those type of opportunities where it's like genuine representation, I think that, because all you have to do is say, like, how many of us are like, oh, I'm rooting for everybody Black. So even if they don't even mess with comics, they're going to go support this person because they know that that's what they're doing. So like, I think that more representation in the space and more crossover opportunities for authors that we already respect. Like, I'm pretty sure if you look at those numbers from forever ago when Eric Jerome Dickey, God rest his soul, gave us that Storm story, how many people's interests were piqued just because they're like, oh, this is an auto-buy author for me, and here he is writing this superhero story. Like,
right,
if nothing else, your curiosity will get you right on over there. Another thing too is like, on the flip side of that, representation for like younger girls. Like, I get that question a lot on my Bookstagram of like, oh, if I have a young reader, where would you start her at? And that's why I'm like, oh, I already know where to take you, because I'm a Moon Girl girly, hands down. Like, give that to her, put that in her hands. Like, being the whole concept of see yourself in stories, like representation of like, it's good and it's great and it's okay and it's your superpower to be a smart girl who just also happens to do these other things. Like, that's why I'm so glad that the Moon Girl series did so well is doing so well, and that we'll be getting more of that, because I feel like that has introduced a lot of like young Black girl, or really just young readers in general, to like crossover into comics. So that's like a young opportunity versus an older women opportunity to like show the crossover of like, this is something you already like, this is something you already enjoy. You may not be familiar with this medium, but it's for everyone.
To add to that, though, in combination with the crossover authors and having a good selection of Black writers. So when you go into a local comic shop and they have their incentives, publishers need to understand, if they're looking to gain more of a wider audience, it's not just the guy anymore. There's both of us now. There's all of us now. When you're doing your incentives, and I'm just talking from the background, from the publishers and the artists, do incentives that have the artwork for maybe not the main character, but a Black woman character that's in the comic book. If there's a Silver Surfer, there's a Spider-Man comic book, and then there's an incentive where a partner character is visiting, that incentive should be the 1 in 25, the 1 in 50. And that's going to display on the wall, okay, everybody's included. I see myself on the wall in this book, in that book. If they really want to be inclusive, those incentive books need to be more of the Black woman, the Black man, or whatever demographic that they're falling short on, because the smaller publishers like Boom Studios, Whatnot Studios, they are eating everything up. They're doing it correctly how the big publishers should have been doing it a long time ago, and they were the trendsetters once upon a time. So being able to see yourself when you walk in a comic shop, especially if you're a brand new comic book collector, you don't know anything, but seeing someone that looks like you right on the wall, you're going to be drawn to it. You're going to pick it up and it's like, oh, I've never seen this before, or this is really nice. So that's going, coupled with the author crossover, is going to make a big difference.
Definitely, because of course, when you walk in and you see that you are the only Black person there and you're a woman, the LCSs, they're kind of, hesitant. But of course, I made enough of a pest of myself to these people that when they see me coming, that's that lady, that Black comic books lady. Give her the Black comics.
Yeah.
Then they ask questions, and it's like, well, who would you want? And I said, any cover with Storm on it is great, but Storm is not the only Black woman character. Okay, because I have so many. I could fill this wall with all the Storm covers, and she's not even in most of those books. They know that, okay, these people are going to pick her up because she's their favorite. So they're going to buy this comic, even though it's not a comic that they don't even read.
Right.
Just on the strength of the artwork and the character on the cover. So, it's nice now when I walk in and then I see. Sometimes, they go a little bit too far and they have like a little Black corner. And it's like,
okay.
Maybe you could do this a little bit better. Maybe not a Black corner, because Black History Month and that kind of thing. It's like, maybe I can help you reform this in a way that is not. It doesn't seem like you're pandering.
Right.
Yeah. Don't pandering and othering is like, let's find the balance with that.
Because if you say also, I will not buy it. I will not buy it if you pander to me. Even if it's a Black person on the cover, a Black person writing it, a Black person doing the art, I won't do it. It has to be organic. It has to be natural.
Right.
And like I said, Boom is my favorite indie. I think, we might actually do a show on Boom. But they're my favorite indies because I have a whole box. They have their own short box.
Same.
Which shows you that, yes, this can be done. And yet you can take our money, okay? Our money is as green as those other fanboys' money. And don't you want it? And that's what bothers me, because I'm sitting there going, you act like you don't want to sell these comics. If I was in there,
I will say, when I first started collecting between Boom and Vault, that's where I was finding a lot of my women of color in comics. And I was just like, oh, this is the vibes. And then to find out, like, if you're not a regular collector, you don't know that they're like a smaller print. So I was just like, oh, that's why. Because they're just like, we're going to go with what we know. We're not going to go with, yeah. So.
Right.
And it's kind of sad because, the comic book store is like slowly dying, because there's like not so many in other places. And, in certain stores, in certain places, like where my mother lives in Florence, they have 2 comic book stores.
Oh,
2. The big one, and then the other one on the side, where I think the collector, he's just there to just show his collection because he doesn't usually like to sell a lot of stuff. And he sells mostly modern comics.
Oh, no.
I'm not going to, blow that person up, because then you have all these slabs, and then you sit there and go, ooh, I want that X-Men one with the first Storm and Gambit when Storm was a child. And then you look at me and go, well, we're not selling that one. And you have it here.
But you have it. Why do you have it here if you're not selling it?
Right.
So it's like, okay, I see where you're at. You're just here for just to show off to people. You don't want to sell it. So,
Man,
so
I feel for people. I feel for people in those type of areas, because like I will say that to the ninth, like I go out of my way to go further, to go to my not so local comic shop, because they do it right. Their pre-orders are on point. If I say, they're used to me, like when I first started collecting at like the peak of the pandemic, they had a system going where it was like, we have this screen up, you come to the door, you pick up your pre-orders. So like I'm trying to pick books and collect books, and I can't even go in the shop because it was COVID, everything happening. But they were always so great. I would be like, what Black women comics do you have? Like, so they knew, just like how they know you, Tamika.
Yeah.
They'd be like, oh, we thought about this recommendation from the last time that we talked to you, so you should pick up this book. But they've been like super supportive, and they'll like, even down to their merch and whatever, I'll be like, why ain't no Black people in this stuff? And they'll literally just be like, oh, you know what, you show right, let's fill that gap or whatever. So it's like night and day when you have that as a resource, because I feel like I live in the Bay Area. There's like a lot of comic shops that I could go to, but the one that's closest to me, I won't name, but I don't go to it because I was treated inappropriately, or like othered, and very much like dismissed. Whereas at my shop that I love to go to, Cape and Cowl in Oakland, they treat me right, and they're like, oh, this is a new collector, regardless of whatever else you have going on.
Right.
You're excited about this. Let's feed that excitement so you can get everything that you're interested in. Yeah.
Right.
Yep, that is a piece of advice for comic shop owners, okay? Do not act crazy when you see women coming in, and especially Black ones, okay? If you're not used to seeing those type of folks, don't do that, because we can tell stories for days about the experiences. Because when I first started going to my LCS, I was othered. But I made it a point, because it's the only one in the city that's close to me. I made it a point to make them understand me and to make them treat me right, or I'll stop spending my money.
Yeah.
Because, they see me, it's like, ka-ching, because we know she's not without dropping a pretty coin.
Yeah. Right. Period.
So, that's the deal. H&H. Imperious Flex. The master Black comic lords of all this social media stuff. He's the one that makes us look good. So you guys give him a shout out. All right. So now I got 2 questions, and I think if nobody else has any more questions, we'll deal with these 2 questions from our CEO.
Okay.
White Davis. First question he gives is, how do women feel about bad writing by male writers on women's characters?
Well, I will start that one. If I read something from a male writer for a female character, it gives the feeling like I'm being told what to do, because it's like the wish list, and it can have selfish tones to it, because it's like, okay, I don't think like that. It makes it obvious that there were no references. You did not ask your mom, you did not ask your girlfriend or wife, you did not ask your daughter, what's this point of view. There are some things that just as humans we can be intuitive about, but once we're separated by our genders, you have to reference those that live in that skin. And refusing to get a reference, and you can always tell in that writing, is an insult. Then it's just a wish list. This is what you want that character to feel and look and act like, in which case I am not going to waste my money. I will never. You can take your wish list to someone else.
I love that. You said that so nice, and I'm not. For me, okay, it very much comes across as your privilege is showing and you're lazy. Because like Angel said, like, how hard is it, you know what I'm saying, to put in the work and get a test group or get someone a reference or literally phone a friend? Like, you have many options. It's not like you're sequestered or you don't come across these people on a regular basis. What that says to me is, this isn't for you. I wrote this for me or for other people who won't care about these details, or who will glaze over the details thinking that this is correct because they don't know any better. So to me, that says you're writing to a different audience, and why should I spend my money? Does that make sense? Like, if you were going to go that route and not do the work, then you should have told a different story. I feel the same way about representation, period. Like, it's the same thing with, like, when you get some corny, dry comment coming from Storm. I'm not going to point no elbows or say no names, but when you get some corny remark, I'm trying not to use expletives here, coming from the queen, and it's like, does that even match her personality? Does that even seem like something that a strong Black woman would ever say out of her mouth? Like, make that make sense. So I would encourage any male author who's going to take on the task of writing a woman's story, like, because I mean, the reality is that those opportunities don't typically automatically go to Black women, but the likelihood of someone turning down an opportunity for themselves to give it to one of them or to recommend one of them is not super high. But realistically, if you're going to choose to take up that space, put in the effort and put in the work, so that way it holds value and it holds weight with the demographic that you're representing. Like, I would encourage you to think about, especially a Black man writing it or whatever, think about a story where a character that you absolutely love came across as lackluster because of the way that they were written. Now imagine that everywhere you turn, that's what you see about all of the characters that you love, because the representation isn't there, or that person didn't do their homework. Like, prime example of this is what was that Miles Morales Thor story that was so tone deaf? Like, I feel like that's an egregious enough example where everyone can understand where I'm coming from. Like, that was like a prime example of, literally, did you ask anyone in your bubble? Did you ask anyone outside of your bubble? Did you have anyone who could identify with any aspect of this story that you're trying to tell? Did you run it by them at all? Did you run any of these concepts by anybody? Because I feel like they could have taken 2 steps. Yes, what if? Thank you, Frustrated Fan Show. I feel like if you would have taken 2 to 5 steps in any direction away from your bubble and asked them about any number of those things in that story, they would have been like, ooh, maybe don't do that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It doesn't take a lot to figure that out.
Oh yes, by Odin's Fade. I screamed, and it was in horror. So my basic thing is, okay, if you're a good writer, okay, you should be good enough to write a character from perspective. But if you are not black and you're trying to write a black character, please have a black person look at it, run by them. Have you been around black people? Okay, because it's not even just writing men writing women characters. It's people writing black characters. That's what sticks in my craw the most because we don't have many opportunities. And like I said, the first thing, like Bree said, let a black writer have it. Okay, yes, sure. I know you want to write black characters, but let a black person have it. Okay, if you are not confident enough that you could speak through this character in a way that is natural and organic.
But
Because
wait,
I wouldn't see fake a mile away.
let me just interject real quick because Tamiko is being very gracious with that whole scenario because the reality of it is our counterparts will have all of the energy, enthusiasm, and confidence in the world and still be 8 shades of wrong. So my point was, even if you're a black writer writing a black story, we are not a monolith. So it's your responsibility to step outside of yourself and have some opportunity for sensitivity and improvement in your work, period. And we took this to black, but it's the same thing when you're talking about writing women. Like, to go back to the core of the question, like, if it's outside of your experience, even if you have the utmost confidence in writing that story, if it's not your experience, then you have to do the homework in order for it to be to come across as genuine or authentic.
Yes, especially because misogyny stinks.
Man.
Misogyny or stinks even more. So yeah, it's like, don't take a woman character and a regal woman character and then have her parade around in skimpy swimsuits and pasties and shaking her rump and things like that if that's not what the character has done before.
Right.
Because some of these male writers, they take the swimsuit edition, and it's only supposed to show you how pretty they will look in a swimsuit and decide to write the whole character from that perspective as if she's in a 2-piece swimsuit for the whole duration of whatever's going on. So no, male writers need to check their egos and everything at the door.
Leave your wish list to Santa.
Yeah. And don't put it on paper and expect us to pick it up. And then get mad when we decide, no, we don't want that trash.
Yeah, I will say that's one reason, one of many reasons why I absolutely love the artist Sway, because the way that he depicted Storm, it's like, I'm going to make her strong and empowered and she's fit, but she has a actual human body. So like, you're getting this tone queen, ethereal goddess like version of her, but she still very much has a human, natural looking body. So Sway covers will forever get my coins for that positive representation, for real.
Yeah, because that's pretty much what it matters. I mean, we are happy to see it, but we can also look underneath it, and we're readers. We're also readers. So that's what you have to remember, okay? It's not just pretty pictures, pretty colored pictures on a page. The story has to make sense. And if the story doesn't make sense, we're going to be telling people, don't buy that. Don't buy that. We're not going to recommend it. We're not going to do it.
Someone said the swimsuit special is the exception, right? LOL. And it's like, nah, that's being very generous, because we've already talked about, like, the way that these
I've been going to get.
We've already talked about how these typical costumes are very gratuitous, because anyone who has boobs knows that I would say a good 80% of these costumes would not be our choice to fight crime in.
No.
Exactly. Because I look at that and I'm sitting going, how is she? That doesn't even look comfortable.
No, and that's the whole idea. Is not from our perspective. It's that wish list, that male brain that's saying, "Oh, this would look real good," running up and down the whatever,
Right here. This we go right here. This from Tron's world. Okay. Explaining to his character design assistant that a woman character, watch that female, a woman character in development needs to be represented in a way that doesn't sexualize her unnecessarily based on her role.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's simple. I mean, there's plenty of us around to ask a question, because sometimes some writers, they don't ask anybody anything. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter what subject matter that they're writing. They know they have a talent and a gift, and they see asking for help as some kind of weakness or deficit. But there are some things that you're just not going to have the inside scoop on. You have to step outside the bubble.
Yep. Black editors, woman editor.
Yeah.
Somebody just let somebody look at it before you put it on the presses and then put it out in the world for everybody to see and
step
talk about
outside of yourself and consider what positive representation could mean for your readership.
Right.
That's what it boils down to. Tron World said female artists do it as well. Yes, women artists are going to, we talked about this before, women artists are going to have to own the space when they are welcomed into it, but there's certain aspects of the structure of like the comic book world in general that aren't going to be toppled overnight. Like, we're not done. We acknowledge that. Also, you have like a readership who has every right to appreciate duality, because I love a woman costume where it's giving serve, it's giving cute, it's giving cunt. I'm here for it. So I'm not saying she has to be in a turtleneck and baggy pants or nothing like that, because we're here for both sides. All I'm saying is the representation of, even if we're going to keep a woman character's costume true to the like iconic version of it so that it's not straying and it's not turning readers off, when you see them in their day clothes, what are they wearing? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, how are they carrying themselves? Are their boobs the same size as their head? And, the proportions, like that type of thing. Hey, you're laughing?
No,
but low-key,
that's
my introduction to comics when I was younger was Witchblade, and sis, one boob was the size of her whole head.
Oh my. Yeah.
Okay, Danger Girl, all of them were all like had a 12 waist and like 48 breasts. Like, make it make sense.
The proportions were ridiculous. And
even today, with like every opportunity for plastic surgery and every ratio, no woman actually looks like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not realistic. And if they did look like that, more power to them, because we love to see it. But I guarantee you they wouldn't be fighting crime in a tube top.
No.
Baby, no, that would not be happening.
That kind of ridiculousness. No. Anyway.
It's not functional.
No, not at all. No woman is fighting, regardless of the size of her breast, is fighting crime in a tube top. We barely want to go to the supermarket in a tube top. It's cute. If I'm wearing a tube top, we're minimal movement, looking cute.
Yeah, we're going for emotions or something.
Right, exactly. Absolutely not.
All right, and for our last question of the day here, also from our CEO, now that MCU speculation has severely diminished, where do you see the future of the hobby?
That's a tough question, because I feel like even before that, it's hard to see where the hobby is going in general, with so many people leaning more towards digital options, and like just the book industry period also like taking hits left and right, because like whereas you have like comic book shops are like the niche within the niche within the niche, you know what I'm saying, depending upon the area where you are. Like I'm lucky enough to be in an area where I have comic shops everywhere, but like most people that I know, if you live in an even remotely rural area, if you have a comic shop, they're not catering to us. You're not going to find it. Just period. So the hobby, I think, is like holding on by its last, honestly, like, which is really sad to say, but it's also because the book industry in general is also doing the same thing. When you have titans like Amazon and everybody like knocking out regular bookstores, and they're seen as like a novelty or seen less and less. And it's not like comic shops have like a Barnes and Noble that's like widely known and a little bit of everywhere and more easily accessible. Even those like chain type of bookstore opportunities like that, they have a very small one shelf, if that, option of like graphic novels. So like the art of collecting single issue comics is like, that's why we will preach from from now till forever, like pre-order, because a lot of people don't even understand like where you're buying your dollars or your buying power holds the most weight to prop up this industry. You know what I'm saying? So like I feel like the MCU wiggling or being hand wavy right now, it may impact like what books we see, but I don't think it's having a tremendous impact on like comic book collecting as a hobby. I think that's more a separate issue.
Definitely, because unfortunately, comic shops and things like that, they're starting to go away. There was at least 10, 15 comic shops here in Philadelphia. Now there's maybe 5 that are still going on. And that's also including the one with who was done by Ariel. I forget what her last name is. Who was the first black woman on this side of the country to have a comic book shop, to be a comic book shop owner. And then now she had to shutter her doors and then reconfigure to like an online type deal. Because that's pretty much where most of the business is going, is online.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know I'm guilty of it because I'm single-handedly supporting Lone Star and Midtown Comics. And things from another world. Because the stuff that I want, okay, they have the things that I want, okay, and then I can get it for a lower price than cover price. So, and then we're going to get to a point now where you'll only see printed comic books maybe at Comic Cons.
Yeah.
Where you will have to travel.
That's why it's important to support your indie creators, because they're putting in the work to keep the art alive. They're just trying to do it in a way that's most authentic to them and the most economically sound for them. So that's why it's so important to support your indie creators.
I think the hobby in itself, because I mean that question did cover 2 things, because you're citing Marvel directly, but then the industry in itself is morphing, and now that we have digital options, and especially after whole COVID pandemic, which was 3 years of lockdown of some sort throughout the whole country, publishers are having a bit of a struggle with recouping costs. I mean, that's the back end of it, and artists are paid even less than they did before COVID. I know most people don't know that side of it, but you know, a lot of my close friends and family are artists. So there's this massive economic hit to that part of the industry, and simultaneously studios and execs in the studios are making record profits. So there's this grab of those that already had power being able to accumulate more of it. And it's really us as the consumer. And this is why I'm a huge advocate of teaching, of collecting, and supporting local businesses. Like, your direct economy is affected by the dollar you spend. Midtown, I have a Midtown comic account, so I'm not gonna like say like, no, Midtown. No, New York is my birth home, so yeah, I have a Midtown comic account, but they are for my extras. When I do my subs, it's local here. And also with the hobby morphing to digital, those comic books that survive, they have something else. They like the Blackbird Comic and Coffee, which is on in Maitland, 500 Horatio for those that live here in Florida. They were able to not only have a game night for those that do the card games, Magic the Gathering and those things, and Pokemon, but they've also have it make it so that you do other stuff, and they have lunch and coffee. So it had to morph than just being, I'm gonna go get my local comic shop. It had to encompass more than one thing to stay viable and make it welcoming, that it became the community's regular habit to go there. And I found that a lot of comic shops that did not morph, because I have another friend, I'm not going to name them, they had a traditional comic shop. You could not sit down and hang out there, and they're no longer open in that capacity. They are online only at this point. I still shop with them, of course, because I've been there, going there for over a decade. But the staying viable does take you being able to adapt, and some places are just not doing that. So there's a lot of nuances with this industry, but it comes down to the dollar. Our dollar is what means whether this shop stays open or not, whether the industry stays open or not. So we have to choose very carefully where we spend our money, and it can't always be about convenience.
Definitely. And like behind the scenes says, okay, comic books pretty much are for the purists, the old heads, those of us,
I'm OG.
Have, you have to have book in their hands, something to open up to feel, because I'm not a fan of the digital. I have a digital account at Marvel Unlimited, but the few times I've gone there, when I needed to do a deep dive to look for something, we all know that they were trying to take us away from having physical books to digital.
Yeah.
Of course, it's probably not going to be that feasible, because they tried to do that with regular books, and I still have like 7 bookshelves full of books, and I buy more books.
We persist.
So it's going to be it's going to be a little different. It's going to be pricey, but it's probably going to be different ways that we can get a hold of things like that. Okay, and let's see here. Fatal says nothing beats a physical copy, of course. We're comforted by that.
Facts.
Okay, because today's young people like digital, and the physicals are just purchased a slab, which is a thing that I haven't really thought about getting into, because I think the prices are really abhorrent to get a comic book that's going to be encased in plastic that you can't open and read.
I have to make a comment about that, the reference to like the younger generation preferring digital. I think that making that statement like generally like that kind of comes from a place of privilege, because the reality is, if you can afford to house your books, physical books, that automatically puts you in a different situation than what a lot of people have. Like, I live in California, is one of the most expensive places to live, and most people are transitioning to a digital library or digital reader space based on necessity. Like most people you talk to who are avid readers are like, my preference is to hold a physical book in my hand. Like I love the smell of books. I love the smell of that fresh ink when you get like a compendium or something like that. But the reality is, it is like an exhibit of your privilege if you can afford physical books to collect them and to house them. And the younger generation or the younger folks are having to be of a separate mind when it comes to like where they place value on things, because the way that people are getting paid, like, and the cost of living do not line up. Realistically, they do not. So I think it, like I said, I don't think you meant it in that way, but making that statement generally is definitely coming from a place of privilege to speak on their experience of why they do or don't like something like that. And I obviously am one of those people where it's like my shelves are double stacked because we're gonna have these hardcovers and find some space for them, period. But the reality of it is a privilege.
Well, the other thing is there may be a gap in what's taught. So like my dad took me to get comic books, and my daughter, I took her to get comic books. And if someone's discovering comic books on their own, and it may come across digitally first, they may not have experienced, the floppy and touching it, or even realize the value that increases with the physical copy, and making sure there's no spine ticks, there's no rolls in it, that you didn't lose. You don't put this out where the sun would get to it so you lose your color. That's something that's shared with family and friend experiences. And if that person is missing that experience, digital is going to be a preference. And unfortunately, a lot of the experiences people have now is very, very inept of human connection. And that's where you get the physical wanting to touch the book from, is the memory that it created when you first did it.
And see, that comment in and of itself is speaking to generational privilege, because if you have someone who had the privilege to have those things and to introduce them to you in that respect, then you do hold it close to your heart. Like my mom was someone who always had a full library. She would read me any and everything from when I was knee high. So I've grown up with the love for books, and my son coming up seeing me surrounded by books, he has his love for books, but it came from me because I have the privilege to have this love for physical books.
Exactly.
I'll get off my soapbox now.
Definitely. And I commented, you saw that? Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Cool.
So I have to just say, these are my regular books because my chair happens to be in front of them. But don't get it twisted. We got crates on crates on crates on top of them, okay?
She's not new to it. She's true to it.
Period.
Yes. Okay. There's a question. Let's see, with my name on it. Oh, from Tron World. Have I checked out Bulletproof Comics? I am based in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
So, no, Bulletproof is an imprint. I'm trying to think. Flatbush Zombies. They're like a rapper group. They did their graphic novel through Bulletproof. And it's difficult for me to get to that part of my shelves right now. But yeah, that just off the top of my head, that's the only Bulletproof book that immediately comes to mind, because I love Flatbush Zombies and it was a crazy dope book. But I want to say that's what their thing is. They like do projects with different artists. They're based in Brooklyn, New York. Oh, are you talking about a standalone store, or are you talking about the imprint?
Yeah, that's what my Google turned up, because it said there Bulletproof Comics in Brooklyn, New York, and I was like, I don't live in New York. Otherwise, I would be there all the time.
Bulletproof Comics is also an imprint. Just to throw it out
there. When I do my travels, I'll be able to check places out, because everywhere I go, I always look to see if there's a comic shop in there, because I find them everywhere. And let's see, the store. So
Okay.
I'm in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So I will probably take an opportunity to go check it out. Grab my son up, who's the official family driver, to take a trip and check it out.
Not the official driver. I know that's right.
He is. But the thing is, he loves it. So that's why I don't say anything. His grandmama got him his car. I pay gas and parts. Take me here. That's all I need. And he is more than happy to do that. Okay, and also let's see here behind the scene. Okay, he was talking about sexy. Well, we was having a sexy costume type thing, and then he wrote, "Why do you think sexy costumes are accepted in anime and manga compared to comic books? Manga and anime was created for the male gaze, GAZE.
Thank you.
Okay, and that also is taken from hentai, uh, comic corn.
Yes.
So that's why you'll see all the boobtastic things and the bouncing around and all the other stuff in manga that you won't see in mainstream comics, because that whole thing was based on male gaze, so what they wanted to read.
Right.
And it blew my mind, because when I went there for a little while in Japan, and then they're reading these comics on subways and things, and then I just happened to glance, and then I saw something that I really wish I hadn't seen.
Yes.
So it's really, really wild. Okay. So that's kind of why, Black comic lords, we don't kind of dip into the anime thing, because that's a whole nother culture. That's a whole nother can of worms.
Yeah, it's not the same.
So it's not really the same thing.
Being a new to anime girly and manga, I will say that it's similar to our conversation that we addressed earlier. Even with women in the space, you're not going to topple the structure of something that's been around for forever overnight. Right. So it's not that it's more accepted there. It's just that how many women and Black women do you see in the anime and manga space speaking out for, equal or appropriate representation? It's like, you think it's low in the comic industry, it's even lower on that side of things, and then like the idea of like, it's also kind of cultural too, like speaking to like women in different cultures. Black women, we tend to be very much like, what you not gonna do, okay? Right. So where we will like, be the queen of the code switch and figure it out how to tactfully gather you up, so that way we see some improvement in that environment. It's not a part of traditional Asian women culture to be more outwardly aggressive about affecting that type of change. So it's a slow go on our end, with us beating pans about it over here. So it's going slower over there. It's not a question of it being more accepted in one place or another. It's just you have to like beat down the patriarchy. The pace is you know what I'm saying?
That's all.
Yeah.
Centuries of misogyny.
Facts.
It'll be even harder to break through with that. Okay, Fatal, we'll give you the last question. Do you ladies collect statues and action figures?
I
do not.
Yes.
I have more than enough comics. I don't need to collect anything else. My hobby is expensive enough.
All right. So again, the way that my shelves are set up right now is chaos, but this bookcase over this way has all of my Black and brown girl pops on it. I don't know how much of that you could see. And then I recently just got into busts and regular statues. And when I tell y'all, I am obsessed with this Storm sideshow piece. And y'all are going to shame me or whatever, but we're just going to figure it out. This statue is $600.
Mm-hmm.
And that's conservative. I've seen some.
Yeah, that's
for me. For me, where the most that I've spent for something like that is a pop that was out of, they're not making it anymore. So the most I've spent is like $50 or something like that.
Yeah.
To be obsessed with this $600 Storm sideshow statue is insane. It's about this big. It's like, I want to say it's like 24 to 30 inches tall, and the base lights up and all this other type of stuff. So I will say that being in this peak nerdity that I'm experiencing now, we are definitely snowballing our way right on into these figures and statues, and it's a slippery slope. I think that I will just be venturing into these regular statues strictly for Storm, because that's my girl. Like, as you can see, well, you can't really see, but we got her tatted because period. But that's the furthest that I'm going to go into figures, is just strictly Storm. And just the rabbit hole that I went down recently yes, you seen it, y'all. If you haven't seen it, Google it right now. It is insane. Okay, insane. And I don't care. It may take me a while to save for it, but I'm getting that $600 ass statue. Sorry. And if I have to like budget and save and take a little bit out of the comic budget, I'm gonna need that. It's stunning. And then when you go looking for, like, I was like, maybe there's a smaller version. I can't even see myself spending that much money on a statue. There isn't. I looked, but the other ones that are like still Storm and smaller scale, or like people are 3D printing stuff and you can buy it where it's like just gray, like straight up just printed, and you have to paint it. And I'm just like, am I really about to go down this rabbit hole? I think I am. So if y'all have any advice that y'all want to share about your statue and figure collecting journey, I would love to hear it, because your girl's going down the rabbit hole.
No, budgeting is the best way to collect.
I'm sorry. You have it? Oh, I'm so jealous. Oh, I'm so jealous.
I like the old school figures.
Yes. Okay.
I had to find her because they don't produce this particular one anymore.
And
then this one is Jon Stewart. So my new place has so much space now, so I am having to save up to get shelving, because I do more than comics. I'm not big on trade paperbacks, but I will do Funkos. I'm gifted figures and statues, and I'm here for it.
But me, I don't yuck nobody's yum, because I know what my budget looks like. And like I said, I got the piles of comics. I'm happy in my comics. And maybe a couple of posters, because I do have Storm posters and have Ironheart posters. Eventually, this space will be covered. Eventually. So, I mean, if you want to send me some coin, to get me a frame so I can put it up there, I'd appreciate it.
Oh, I will say, the comic book canvas their Kickstarter is starting on the 26th, and it's essentially like, it's a 6x4, like acrylic looking, you can unfold it, but it's made out of a specific type of plastic that's safe for your books and safe for light and all these other things. But it holds 24 because it's 6x4, and you can double, it's thick enough where you can double stuff each pocket, so you can have one side and then flip it around and have more comics in it. Their Kickstarter is starting on the 26th, and I was able to get a code so that way we can get like a little bit of a discount for Black Comic Lords members. So be on the lookout, because I'll be sharing that link pretty soon. But that's a dope way to like have some of your comics displayed, and then also like fill some of that blank space on the wall. That's probably where I'm going to start doing my videos once mine arrives, because so they come in a 6x4 Is that right? Yeah, 6x4 option, and then also a 3x3 option, so you can like stack them and change them however you want in your wall space. But another dope thing to do. So yeah, be on the lookout in the Facebook group, so that I'll be sharing the link in our code, so that way y'all can run and go cop that.
Awesome. Yay! Oh, and just to highlight Kickstarter, because I'm all about teaching how to collect. If you want to support comic books from indie comic creators that are starting from the beginning, Kickstarter is a share platform where you help invest into the very beginning of a comic book. You can download the app, you create a profile. Like for myself, I have my saved. Like I'll highlight that Kevin Grevos has his Djinn comic coming out soon, so I'm plugging that. He did not ask me to. I'm just plugging it because we need investors. I'm excited. His comic book is about the Djinn race, and a cop discovers that she is part of that ancient Djinn race. So you can invest early in comic books before the big publishers get a hold of it, and you'll get exclusive digital and physical prints. Like Black Cotton is another comic book that was out through Scout Comics. Their second series is already fully funded, and I'm waiting for my copy. So Kickstarter is a share fund platform. You can invest at the very beginning for a comic book, and they have their value when it's at the beginning before the big publishers get to them.
And they tend to do really cool stuff like put your name in the book, or have opportunities where you can pay extra and get yourself like made into a character and get put in the book, or it comes with extra merch. Like, what was that book? Ianu, the kind of magical fantasy black girl magic type of vibes book, started on Kickstarter, and I ordered volume 1 from there, and it came with all of these adorable stickers and stuff that I gave to my niece. So like it's a vibe, and then you're like part of the grassroots experience. Like I got a couple of issues of that Djinn book, and I didn't realize it was on Kickstarter. So that's like one of the beautiful things about Kickstarter too, is like it's the fans promoting it so that it gets where it needs to go. So you end up like supporting some really dope projects. So thanks for sharing that, Angel, because I didn't even know, and now I got to go find that.
And we put all of the Kickstarters that we come across, we put them in our Facebook group, Black Superheroes Forever.
Yes.
So you be part of Black Comic Lords and be a part of Black Superheroes Forever on Facebook, and you'll get all the information. Anytime we come across that, that's where it goes. So that goes on all of our social medias. And we thank Tron World for giving us a couple of
He's trying to start you on that. They're trying to start you on that slippery slope.
They're trying. We'll see about that.
Once you pop and you can't stop.
Yeah, Funko Pop. Okay, we'll see about that though. But
thank you for sharing about the Black Friday sale with Sideshow also, because I'm definitely gonna have to hit that up.
Thank you for supporting Black Comic Lords so that we can keep on doing what we do here. Oh, here we go. Fatal, a girl dad. Aww. Watching BCL when the ladies are on makes me feel so happy. All right, nothing cooler than a woman who knows comic books. That's right. Honey, we've always been there. Do not let these fanboys fool you talking about, oh, there weren't any girls who were in the comics. Yes, they were.
Yes, since I was 4 years old, and I'm way older than that
now. Yep. I started at 12, honey, and I'm in my 50s. So yes, we were always around.
I just got here, but it's great, period.
And we thank you for supporting Black Comic Lords. So, this was a wonderful time, ladies. It's a wonderful time. And we're going to be back to our monthly schedule. So you can check out our BCL Ladies Live on Saturdays here on YouTube, probably near the end of the month. So, life be lifing.
Life be lifing.
We are all very busy and other things going on, but we'll always make sure to make time for our people here.
Yes.
Black Comic Lords. So, I am Tamiko, your friendly neighborhood moderator. And I'm also known as BCL Star Dancer Supreme on all of the social medias. So if you look around, check me out. We talk comics everywhere. Bree?
Oh, I'm Bree from. You can find me on Instagram as Bree's Bookish. I'm a book promoter in general, and as well as a woman of color and comics collector. If you're interested in reading more science fiction and fantasy by authors of color, I also have a book club. You can find us on Instagram under B2 Weird.
And Angel?
I'm A4 Mason on Instagram and on what do you call it? I forget that other one. What's the other?
TikTok.
TikTok.
Yeah, there you go. I'm old. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh,
I'm on
I lose hours of my life there. So yeah.
I teach about collecting comics, so add me on there if you're new or wanting to start again. I collect comic books and figures and like to chop it up on all things industry, movies, and so forth. And they need to let Jonathan Majors have his day and release him from this nonsense. Just what I'm saying, my 2 cents.
Close us out before we get started, Tamiko.
All right. Black Comic Lords, blackcomiclords.net. You like this shirt? Pick it up. Get some merch. Be a Black Comic Lord like us. And we bid you good evening.